Welcome back to the channel, everybody. It is Matty here from Chill TCG. Today we're going to be taking a look at the 10 best decks in the standard format going into the month of April. Now, Battle Styles just released about 2 weeks ago. Typically, I take the entire month into consideration, except for this time in this video, we're just going to be taking a look at the last 2 weeks to make our analysis and to build our top 10 list. And as always, all of the tournament statistics were gathered by CashVendorMan and Pokestats.com. Now, the CP rankings are gathered and analyzed from the weeks of March 15th through March 30th, so pretty much the last 2 weeks. And the CP is based off top cut placements in all online PTCGO tournaments that are played on the Play.Limitless platform. With all that being said, make sure that you go check out CashVendorMan on Twitter at @Cashman27 there, and check out Pokestats at PTCGstats.com. All right, now let's get into the list. Alright, now kicking up on our list, we have something a little bit different this month. At number 10, we have Spiritomb from Unbroken Bonds. Spiritomb has always been a fantastic single prize attacker in our format. Back before rotation in the Rebel Clash sort of era, it was one of the best decks in our format. It had a lot of really great cards in its toolkit. Now, with the release of Battle Styles, I think Escape Rope really put this card into the forefront of the meta. It was just that last little bit of help that this deck needed. Now, the variant that people have been playing in these tournaments have been the Spikemyth Spiritomb variant. Of course, Spikemyth, you add damage counters to both players' Pokemons once they move from the active spot to the bench, and we're running a whole lot of different switching options in our list. We have 4 switches, 4 escape ropes, we have scoop up nets, we also have bird keepers, so plenty of switching options in the format right now. Definitely gives Spiritomb a lot of fast pace damage output potential, right, which is a good reason why this deck has been so successful. Now, another important card here is going to be, Cape of Toughness, I believe is what it's called, yes. Cape of Toughness is good because it adds 50 HP to Spiritomb, which in turn adds 150 more damage that this card is able to output. So at the most, for 1 energy on a single prize Pokemon, you can hit for 310 damage pretty consistently, I might add as well. So definitely a pretty good list right now. We got first at LOS Weekly number 24, massive tournament. Second at the Float DK qualifier. 5th at Advantage number 1. 8th at the Float DK qualifier as well. I'm in 13th at the Absolem Cup. Blueface Baby definitely carrying this archetype here for the last week or so. Came out with 172 Pokestats CP, so nothing to scoff at. Definitely super cool to see Spiritomb on the list here. We're going to take a look at an example of a deck list here. Most Spiritombs are running almost the exact same 60. There's not a lot of different room for this deck to change or to add some text in here. Mew is also a good reason why this list is necessarily viable right now with all of the Pokemon that love to spread damage to the bench. So Mew is extremely important. The Jinx there, extremely important to move 1 damage counter per turn from one of your Pokemon to the other. So this deck has a lot going for it. I love seeing Spiritomb back in the format right now. I think it's a great option as a single prize attacking archetype. So, definitely go try it out. Spiritomb from Unbroken Bonds at number 10. Super cool. At number 9 on our list, we have Decidueye from Darkness Ablaze. Now, Decidueye always finds a way to somehow win these big tournaments when nobody expects it. Especially at the beginning of formats, everybody's focused around the new decks. Nobody really, remembers to tech or to prep for Decidueye. This deck can definitely take a format by storm, especially at the beginning here. It got first at Chill Series number 24, massive 400-player tournament. Shout out to Rogerio Bombardelli there. Second at Hexters number 39, third at Hexters number 40, fifth at the Sunday Open on the 21st, and third at Hexters number 38. 240 Pokestats CP here. Pretty consistent placements in the last 2 weeks for Decidueye here. The only thing is I don't think a lot of people have been playing Decidueye. It's been a handful of people each tournament. And while there has been at least one to do very well in most of these big tournaments so far, it's just not a deck that really has been able to accumulate, a large total of points here. Now, there is actually kind of been a new deck list, a new style of Decidueye, which popped up and did win the Chill Series a couple weeks ago. Now, of course, you're still running Rosa. You're still running all of the good stuff that you typically would be running in Decidueye. However, he has a heavy emphasis on the tag call engine, running things like Guzmahala and Malolana on top of Big Charms, and a bunch of special energies in the deck. Now, what this does, right, is it protects you from those smaller attackers, single prize attackers that might be sprinkled into some other people's decks. Because really the VMAXs and V Pokemon and big GX Pokemon tag teams like that, they can't hit you, right? So, you might think, well, why do I need a big charm, right? I'm just walling out, all of those Pokemon in general. But, a lot of times people who are teching single prize attackers into their deck, The big charm in the Malilon really comes in clutch. And if you guys really want to see a good example of how this exact deck list can be absolutely phenomenal against some of the best decks in the format, definitely go check out the Grand Finals match from Chill Series number 24, where it took down Eternatus VMAX in the finals. So definitely very, very good deck list right now. Do I think it'll remain? I think it's pretty safe to say that Decidueye will stay in the bottom few spots of this list for a long, long time. A long, long time. It's just one of those things, right? People are always going to forget about this card. Even when it disappears for a while, it's always going to come back and shock people and win a big tournament. So I think 9th on the list here is pretty accurate for Decidueye right now, but interesting to see how this deck will evolve as time goes on. Coming in at the number 8 spot, we actually have Pikachu and Zekrom GX. Now, you might be wondering, why is Pikachu so low on this list? It's been one of the best decks in our format for such a long time. And the reason for this mainly is just because nobody was playing or running Pikachu in pretty much the first week of any of these Battle Styles tournaments. People assumed that it wasn't going to be viable with all the Urshifus running around. But eventually somebody kind of decided, you know what, Peak's still good. We have Mewtwo, still have Crushing Hammers. It's still a phenomenal deck. And Urshifu isn't as good as people thought it would be. And for that reason, in this past week or so, Pikachu has really come back and had a lot of success here. We can see he got first at the Sunday Open on the 28th, second at Hexer's number 40, third at the Flow TK Qualifier, fifth at Hexer's number 39, and sixth at the LOS Weekly number 24. 339 Pokestat CP, so honestly nothing too terrible in pretty much the last week. You got to think about it, right? Pikachu, it's still a fantastic deck. It's still going to be really good in our format. Yes, it can't struggle with fighting-type archetypes. There's other Mewtwo decks around right now, like Welder decks that do pretty well against Pikachu as well. But you know what? I still think that there's a decent spot for Pikachu in our format right now. I think 8th is still pretty low for this deck. And next month when we have a bigger sample size of tournaments farther into the meta, I think that we're going to see Pikachu rise back up into the top 5 for sure. Now, the deck list has remained pretty much the same, right? You have the 2 Mewtwo techs. I think Hammers are still really good. The deck list is very much figured out. It's definitely been cracked, and people kind of know how to play the deck, which is a big reason why it's so successful, because it's been tested for such a long time. Yeah, nothing too surprising with the deck list. It's just good old Pikachu. Still the Mewtwo GX tech. It's still the same 60 pretty much that Zach Lesage went and won the Players' Cup 2 with. So you got to kind of have an idea of how, the longevity of Pikachu has been so impressive over the last year or so. So I think that Pikachu and Zekrom, it's still going to be around, guys. It's such a good deck. It has everything going for it. And yes, you might be struggling with Urshifus a little bit, but you can definitely win with the Mewtwo techs and Crushing Hammers and things like that. So I'm not too worried. Not surprised either that Pikachu made this top 10 list. Expect it to be a little bit higher on the list next month for sure. At number 7 on the list, we have everybody's favorite Psychic-type VMAX Pokemon. It's Dragapult VMAX. Now, this deck, it had a lot of hype going into Battle Styles, going into our new format. Everybody really expected Dragapult to surge to the top of the meta, and, I am one of those people. I thought that Dragapult would be absolutely insane. I still think it's a good deck right now. It's a good choice to run in our meta. Now, I did not expect it to be, I guess, a little bit easier to deal with for things like Urshifu and Etern. And a lot of other great decks that, should have a pretty bad matchup against Dragapult. But you know what? For the most part, I think that number 7 on the list is pretty average. But you know what? Who knows, right? It got first at Hexer's number 38, 5th at the Senichi number 2 tournament, 5th at the Flow TK Qualifier, 7th at Chill Series number 24, and 10th at Chill Series number 24. So, not anything terrible, realistically. Pretty consistent placements here throughout the first 2 weeks. Maybe this deck will go up in play. Maybe it will go down in play. We really have to see how the format evolves here in the next month or so. 389 Pokestat CP, nothing terrible for 2 weeks for sure. Now, one thing that I was surprised with Dragapult was the way that people started playing it going into this new format. Of course, for me, I always thought the Scoop Up Net Jirachi engine was the best deck to play, and that's probably, true still. That's probably the list that I'll show here. However, we've seen success from things like Green's Dragapult, which we see down there on the bottom right. And we also have seen people incorporating Rapid Strike Urshifu into Dragapult lists and kind of combining them into a deck that I like to call Urshipult, which I did make a video on my channel. Those are 2 very creative ways to play Dragapult, and they've both seen a lot of success. So, you know what? Maybe I was wrong. Maybe that is the best way to play Dragapult. But for my money, I still think the Jirachi Scoop Up Net engine is going to be the most consistent way to play this deck. I think Dragapult has a lot of things going for it. I think that this deck needs to just be tested a bit more. It needs to be refined, and the 60 needs to be perfected in this new format. But I do think Dragapult will come back with the vengeance, and it will remain as one of the 5 best decks in our format going up, for the next few months. So definitely excited to have Dragapult be another viable option very, very excited. But, I would like to see it see a little bit more play, see a little bit more success. But at number 7, guys, we've got Dragapult VMAX. At number 6 on our list, we have Eternatus VMAX. Now, like Pikarom, this deck dominated our format for months now. It won so many Chill Series online events, as well as other online tournaments as well. And it just seemed to be an absolute monster in a deck that, it seemed like it couldn't lose for a long time. When Battle Styles came out, similar to Pikarom, people just weren't playing E-Turn. They assumed it wasn't going to be a correct choice with all the Urshifus running around. But you know what? It's one of those things where it's just not going to go away that easily. Rapid Strike Urshifu and Single Strike Urshifu honestly don't have great matchups against E-Turn, as long as they're not prepping for it, right? I mean, you can't just run a typical Urshifu list and have a great matchup against E-Turn. You actually have to tech for it still a little bit and add a couple damage modifications into your Urshifu list. Now, I think if people start doing that regularly, E-Turn will go back down and play. That first week, people didn't really play E-Turn, but in this last week or so, it's come back and had a lot of success here. It got second at Chill Series number 24, second at LOS Weekly number 24, fourth at the Sunday Open on the 28th, seventh at LOS Weekly number 24, and eighth at Hexter number 39. 391 Pokestat CP, so very similar to the last couple decks that we've looked at. But you know what? It's still E-Turn, and I can't say that I'm happy to see it still in the format right now. It's a deck list that I typically, I'm a little bit salty towards. Maybe just because it wins so many of our tournaments. I don't know. But E-Turn VMAX, it's still extremely strong. The 340 HP means that this thing is just so hard to take down, even when you're hitting for weakness. In this deck, I don't think it's going to go anywhere for a long time. It's still one of the best decks in our format, even with all of the, the fighting type decks that are, being played right now in all of these online tournaments. People are still playing just straight E-Turn. Yveltal is still very, very important. Things like Spiritomb, extremely important in this list. Galarian Slowbro V is another big one because Poison E-Turn, of course, is still prominent. It's still one of the, the better ways to play E-Turn VMAX. Crushing Hammers as well. When you're playing straight E-Turn, you're probably going to be playing Crushing Hammer. Now, one thing that I don't have in this list is the Cheryl version with, with Weavile-GX, right? So similarly to Corviknight and Bronzong, with Weavile, you can move, right, your darkness energies from your, any of your dark Pokemon to the other, and then you can use Cheryl, fully heal up your E-Turn VMAX, and move the energies back. Absolutely insane deck list. Not one that I'm probably going to be showcasing just because it hasn't been super successful yet, but definitely a viable option when you're playing E-Turn VMAX. Definitely can be a creative way to play the list as well. Yeah, E-Turn VMAX, guys, it's still around, still in the top 10 list. 6 is not bad at all, especially for not seeing pretty much any play in that first week of Battle Styles. I don't have too much else to say about E-Turn, man. Please prep for this if you're playing Urshifu. That's all I gotta say. Coming in at the number 5 spot, we have another classic deck here, Centiskorch VMAX. Again, this list hasn't changed too much. People are pretty much running the same, the same list, the same T-Brophy special that people were always running back in the old format. Still in a fantastic list. A lot of people have been running actually some water decks, things like Inteleon and Lapras have come into the forefront here of the meta. So that kind of, puts Centiskorch in a little bit of a tougher position. But I think that the list is still refined. It's still a fantastic deck. And it's still going to see a lot of success here in this new format. There's been some other Welder-type archetypes that people have kind of preferred to run for the most part, which is why I think Centiskorch is all the way down at the number 5 spot. Things like Welder Mewtwo have seen a lot of play, of course, and as well as things like Victini VMAX, the new Victini VMAX. People are kind of choosing to play those, newer, fresher archetypes as opposed to Centiskorch, but still seeing a lot of success here. First at the Sunday Open on the 21st there, 6th at the Sunday Open on the 21st as well, 11th at Hexter number 39, 12th at Chill Series number 24, and 14th at Hexter number 38. 417 Pokestat CP, so nothing terrible at all. Centiskorch is still an absolute monster, still able to get those massive one-hit KOs on those VMAX Pokemon, as well as those tag team Pokemon. So I think that Centiskorch is still an absolutely great option in our format right now. Still running Welder, Jirachi Engine, of course, still very important aspects to this Centiskorch list. People are running Reshizard in the list. People are running Cramorant V. Now, one thing that might be a little bit different, or a couple things that might be different in these Centiskorch lists these days with Battle Styles, is you might see that people are running Escape Rope in the list. I think that most decks are just incorporating a couple of Escape Ropes instead of 4 switches, and I think that Smart does upgrade pretty much every deck in the format, in my opinion. Also, people might be running Fan of Waves as opposed to Giratina, which they might be running previously in their lists. Corviknight hasn't been a big issue, so I think that Giratina still is a very good option, but Fan of Waves also a very, very good option as well, so we got to keep that in mind. Centiskorch VMAX, guys, it's still around. It's still super powerful. I still suggest that you play it. However, we do have a few Welder archetypes that are going to be higher on the list, and I probably would suggest that you try out those decks before Centiskorch. But if you're a Centiskorch junkie, if you love this list, if this is what you played in the last format, feel free to keep playing this list. It's definitely going to be a dominant force in our new format for sure. All right, and coming in at the number 4 spot, we actually have the Rapid Strike Urshifu VMAX, the new kid on the block. Probably the most hyped deck to come out of Battle Styles, the most hyped card in general. Rapid Strike Urshifu definitely doesn't disappoint. It's a fantastic Pokemon. People are playing it a lot right now, and I can definitely see why. It got first at the Float DK Qualifier, first at Advent Edge, number 1, 5th at LOS Weekly, number 24, 7th at the Sunday Open on the 28th, and 7th at Hexer, number 39. 424 Pokestat CP in the last week and a half, 2 weeks. Definitely not bad at all. Rapid Strike Urshifu is an absolutely fantastic card. It's got a lot of things going for it, right? You can run the Jirachi Scoop Up Net engine. Definitely going to make this deck very consistent. You have plenty of different switching options now with Escape Rope being added to the format, going to help with that first attack. And of course, we have the double, Rapid Strike Energy, which goes very well with this card for sure. But I do think that Martial Arts Dojo is going to be extremely important for this list to deal with those Etern VMAXs, right? Which are kind of poking their head back into the format, and it's definitely not a deck that you want to lose to for sure. I think that Rapid Strike Urshifu has a lot going for it. I do think that it is much better than the Single Strike version, which was my initial sort of thoughts before this card was released. So at least I was correct there in my opinion. Yeah, I think there's a lot going for Rapid Strike Urshifu VMAX. I think 330 HP is very good. I still think you do struggle with, things like Welder Mewtwo and Dragapult, which are very good Psychic type archetypes. One thing that I will say is that you still do probably not have a great matchup against Pikachu with the double Mewtwo tech in there. It's a deck that you wish that you could have a really good matchup against. Of course, if they start with a Raichu or a Pikachu, you're in a good position. But, for the most part, I don't think that people thought that they would have as hard of a time with those older decks that you're hitting for super effective against as, people thought you would. Being weak to Psychic, again, there are a lot of great Psychic options in the format right now, but I think that Rapid Strike Urshifu, definitely a very, very important deck to be in our format right now. It's been a while since we had a really good fighting type Pokemon do well right now, and I think it gives a lot of balance between the Psychic type, Fighting type, and Dark type power triangle that we seem to have right now in our format, and I definitely think that it's very healthy. If you guys, are able to get your hands on some Rapid Strike Urshifus, I think they're still pretty expensive right now. I definitely suggest that you try and play this list. I think that it's extremely fun, fast pace. It takes a lot of thought, right, when you're doing the math and when you're sequencing with the list. So, I definitely think that this is one of the best decks in the format, and it should be for a long time. So big shout out to Rapid Strike Urshifu VMAX, man. I love this list. At number 3 on our list, we actually have Mewtwo and Mew GX, the Welder variant. Much like Pikachu, this deck just will not go away. I think that, of course, being on one hand a Fire-type archetype, and on the other hand a Psychic-type archetype, it's very, very well positioned in our format right now. I think that you can pretty much bet that Welder Mewtwo is going to be pretty successful in any tournament that we're going to see right now. I think just the option to go with the the Reshiram Fire-type attacker route or the Mewtwo and Mew GX Psychic-type attacker route really kind of gives this list a big advantage. On top of that, I do think that this list has been figured out for a long time now. I think people know how to run Welder Mewtwo. People know how to play this list, and for that reason, I think that it's going to see a lot of success at the beginning of this format. It got 2nd at Hexer's number 38, 5th at Chill Series number 24, 6th at the Sunday Open on the 28th, 8th at LOS Weekly number 24, and 10th at the Sunday Open on the 21st. Now, it hasn't won a tournament yet, but the top 8, top 16 placements for this list have been very consistent in the last 2 weeks, top 32s as well, which is, a big part of how how these decks accumulate points. Now, I've seen pretty much 3 main ways people have been playing Welder Mewtwo since the format came out. Just the typical Welder Mewtwo with Fire-type attackers, Welder Engine, and all that good stuff. The other one has been the Aurora Energy version. The Aurora Energy version is very good because you can tech in other type attackers that aren't Fire-type attackers. And in this list, people are incorporating things like Greninja GX, Vileplume GX, all those other great GX attackers that, you would be able to use with Mewtwo and Mew GX, except you need the Aurora Energies to use them. Now, the other third way that I've seen people actually play this list has been incorporating Victini VMAX into the list, which I think is very, very cool. I love when 2 archetypes combine together. I don't think the Victini version has seen an incredible amount of success, but I do think that Welder Mewtwo is one of the best decks in our format right now. 555 Pokestat CP in just 2 weeks. Absolutely incredible. Welder Mewtwo is a fantastic list, and I highly suggest that you play it. Personally, I don't ever really play Mewtwo lists or Welder lists, so this isn't a list personally that I have too much experience with. But from playing against it in old formats and in this format, I can tell you that it is extremely powerful, and definitely one of the top options right now in our Battle Styles format. So definitely go check it out, Welder Mewtwo, man. Hopefully it sticks around for a while. I think it's a really cool deck list, and I don't think that it's going to go anywhere for the next few months. At number 2 on our list, we actually have Victini VMAX. Now, Victini VMAX hit the ground running when Battle Styles was released. A lot of people were hype about this list, this card, and Rapid Strike Urshifu. However, Victini VMAX, being a Welder-type archetype, being a card that you can easily implement in place of things like Centiskorch, and kind of had the list already figured out, definitely gave Victini VMAX the advantage in that first week of Battle Styles. Probably the most successful card to come out of that set. Victini VMAX is one of the most efficient attackers in the game right now. Being able to hit for 220 turn 2 or turn 1 against VMAX Pokemon and V Pokemon is absolutely insane. For 2 energies, you are one-shotting Zacians or most V Pokemon in general, as well as 2-hit KOing VMAX Pokemon. So definitely a fantastic list. 310 HP is a little bit low, but for the most part, that hasn't really been an issue for Victini VMAX. If you look at the lists for this deck, most people are just running the typical Centiskorch deck, except with Victini's in place of it. However, one thing that you will notice with Victini VMAX is that you don't need Welder as much as you do when you're playing Centiskorch, because your attack cost is only 2. Welder is a good card in the list, but I think that things like Research and Boss's Orders are extremely important when playing Victini VMAX. For that reason, a lot of Victini VMAX lists you'll see 4 Boss's Orders, and maybe 2 or 3 Welders with a couple Researches thrown in there, and I think that's a very smart play when you're playing Victini VMAX. Reshiram and Charizard, Cramorant, all those good things to go into these Welder-type lists, very important. Jirachi, Scoop Up, Net Engine, also extremely good when you're playing Victini VMAX. Now, the thing is, Corviknight wasn't as good as people thought, right? It didn't, get as much traction. It didn't have as much success when the format came out as, personally, I thought it would. But Victini VMAX has still remained as one of the best decks in the format because it does well against pretty much every archetype that you could think of, not just, of course, against metal-type Pokemon. I think it has a good ADP matchup. I think it has a good, a lot of matchups. To be fair, I think Victini VMAX has it all, especially when you're incorporating things like Cramorant and Reshiram and Charizard GX. 631 Pokestat CP in the first week and a half, 2 weeks. Absolutely insane. Second at the Sunday Open on the 28th, second at Sunday Open on the 21st, third at the Sunday Open on the 28th, sixth at Shinichi number 2, and 8th at Hexter's number 38. So, definitely very consistent placements for Victini VMAX. It's an incredibly impressive list. And I think if you're looking to pick up a card from Battle Styles or build a new deck from Battle Styles, I think Victini VMAX should be your number 1 option. I don't have anything else to really say about Victini VMAX. It's absolutely phenomenal. One of the best cards in our format right now, so I highly suggest that you pick up this card and try it out. All right, now coming in at number 1 on our list is the deck that everybody knew would be up here. It's ADP Zacian. Now, for some reason, ADP just seems to get better and better as each set has released over the last few months. When Shining Fates came out, we had Rusted Sword, increasing Zacian V's damage output by 30 when you attach this tool onto Zacian. Already insane, but in Battle Styles, we got Escape Rope, which is a fantastic option in ADP. Now, I think the most successful ADP lists have been running 3 copies or 4 copies of Escape Rope in the deck. It's an absolutely insane option. It just makes the deck that much better. A deck that, one, loves to switch around as much as possible with Zacians and loves to gust up your opponent's bench Pokemon. Escape Rope really brings ADP to the very top of this format. Probably and most definitely, honestly, has been the most played deck since Battle Styles has come out. So I think that's a big part of it. Being the most played deck, of course, will most likely have the most CP. But I do think that its success has been very prominent. 846 CP, so definitely the highest on our list for the last 2 weeks. It got second at Shinichi number 2, third at Chill Series number 24, third at the Sunday Open on the 21st, fourth at LOS Weekly on the 24th, and fourth at Hexter number 38. So the placements have been kind of very consistent for ADP. It hasn't won a tournament yet, but lots of top 8s and top 16s for this thing, which is a great way to rack up Pokestat CP. I don't have anything else to say about ADP right now. People aren't running hammers. They're going max consistency. People are trying to go second, get turn 1 GX, start sweeping games. This list is an absolute problem. I think that it's going to be our best deck in the format for another, 2 or 3 months. We'll see if Chilling Reigns even implements anything that can counter ADP. I doubt it will. ADP Zacian, man, it's absolutely insane. I did make a video on this thing recently, so the deck list has changed quite a bit. I suggest you go check out that video. But I think that if you're still looking to get into the game, if you're looking to, get an easy top 8 or realistically just play the most complete deck in the format right now, I hate to say it, ADP Zacian is going to be your best choice. I don't have anything else to say about ADP Zacian. I'm not surprised that it was number 1 on the list this month, but am I disappointed? Maybe just a little bit. But anyway, ADP Zacian, number 1 on the list. Alright guys, that's going to wrap up the video. That is our 10 best decks in the standard format going into the month of April 2021. Again, I want to give a big shout out to Pokestats.com and Cash Vendor Man for supplying me the data that I needed to make this list and make it as accurate as possible to our current meta. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I've been Maddie from Chill TCG. It takes me a lot of time to make these 10 best decks videos, so I really appreciate the support. Don't forget to click subscribe if you like the content. Click like if you liked the video, and potentially become a channel member. Click join down below. It's only $1.99 a month. It means a lot to me, for sure. Don't forget to play in Chill Series tournaments every Wednesday. They're the hottest tournaments in the online scene right now. Our prize pools have been absolutely fantastic. Again, big shout out to all the channel members. You guys are the reason why we're able to make these videos every day, so I definitely really appreciate it. All right, guys, I'm going to get out of here. This has been the best decks going into the month of April. I've been Maddie from Chill TCG, and I will see you guys soon.